Welcome. My name is Melinda Hart. You are watching Stamping with Hart. I am an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up, and you can find more information about the projects that I make here on Facebook, on my blog at www.stampingwithhart.blogspot.com. When I go live, the blog has not yet been posted. I am working so hard to try to get caught up, but I'm not there yet. So hang in there with me, and I will always let you know when I have everything available up on the blog. Okay, so tonight we are going to be doing a bleaching technique. Let me know in the comments if you guys have ever done the bleaching technique. I actually first learned about this technique. Do you guys remember Stamp TV on YouTube? Oh my gosh, from so many years ago. Gina Kay, if you guys are familiar with her, I saw her do this bleaching technique and I always wanted to try it. This is my first time actually doing the bleaching technique. So, you know, if you guys have household bleach, that is what you need to actually do this project tonight. So I did all 5 in color cardstocks with this technique, and I'm going to walk you through it. We're also going to be using the Happiness Abounds bundle. So we're going to be using the stamp set and then the coordinating dies. And those dies actually make the stitching here and then here. For, you know, if you like, actually it's like on the cover of the catalog, I think. The new catalog. It creates this sort of notepad look where like you've ripped out the paper. So cute. So let me go ahead and walk you through the in colors and the cards so you guys can get a look at these. And then we'll talk about a few things, and then we'll start making our cards. So this is Starry Sky with the bleaching technique. What I tried to do with the bleaching technique, we're also going to do heat embossing, because no surprise there, I love doing heat embossing. But what I understand, I was researching this a little bit, and I don't think that there's actually an ink out there that can actually not be bleached. So it's the heat emboss isn't affected by the bleach. So it's the safest way to do your stamping and then the bleaching technique with it. So this is the look of the bleach with Starry Sky. This is, and we did different flowers for every card, I think. Oh, two of the cards have the biggest flower, and then the other ones have different flowers on it. And I'll go through that with the stamp set. But here we have Sweet Sorbet. And look at how the bleach looks with Sweet Sorbet. I tried to do a variety of the heat emboss too, just depending on what you guys would like to do. So this was with the gold, but I mean, it's almost white. It's really intense with Sweet Sorbet. I thought that was beautiful. This is Parakeet Party with the bleaching technique, and then this is more of that rose. I think that's a, you know, I'm not like the best with flowers, but I think that's a rose. So here I actually like added some of the leaves too, and I thought about leaving the leaves Parakeet Party, but I thought the technique was just too fun. It reminds me almost of like vellum, or even, especially a color this bright, it reminds me a little bit of like pop art almost. Really, really cool. So anyway, that's Parakeet Party. Here, this one looks like ghosty to me. I think this one looks the most like vellum of all of them. This is Orchid Oasis with the bleaching technique, and with this flower here, so beautiful. And then here again, we have this largest flower. This is on Tahitian Tide, and when I looked at this, when I saw the way the bleach was pulling the color out, doesn't that look like very vanilla? You guys will have to let me know what you think. In person, I don't know how it's reading on camera, but like to my eye, it actually looks like very vanilla. So I thought it was so cool the way that these turned out. Anyway, really simple. Well, I don't know if I want to say simple because I did do some embossing, but not too much decoration on these, kind of let the bleaching technique be the star. And then we just did like embellishments with the die cuts and stuff. So there's definitely technique to it. These are cards that are going to take you a little bit of time, but so worth it. I mean, look at how gorgeous that is. I thought this was the cleanest of all of them, was Starry Sky. Really soft and subtle, but really, really beautiful. Okay, so before I start getting into the technique, let me just go over this really quick, because we are now officially halfway through May. Today is May 15th. So this is your friendly reminder for my, I should say my bi-weekly live. We do this 2 times a week, but I'm going to remind you again. So I'm talking about this. I've been highlighting this, really wanted to mention it, especially because we're still working with in colors. You can actually get free in color products in the starter kit in the month of May. So if you haven't already seen or heard about this, you can actually get the traditional starter kit is $125 worth of product that you pick. So if you have a wish list of products from the new catalog, you pick $125 worth, you pay $99, you get free shipping on it. But from May 3rd to the 31st, and remember, we're halfway through the month now, you can get the 5 in color ink pads. You can get the cardstock that we're using today, the 2022-2024 cardstock. You can get the designer series paper. And you can also get the grid paper pack. And what I want to shout out about that is, if you guys are going to be doing any techniques like we're doing tonight with the bleaching technique, you definitely want to protect your surface. And that's what the grid paper does. Now, I am going to use something a little more heavy duty than grid paper, but we're going to use grid paper too. So that is a huge, huge savings in the starter kit. So you're getting $125 worth of product and then another $66.50 in product for free. So that's basically like, that's almost $192 in product for $99 and free shipping. So if you guys have any questions about that, let me know. You can DM me, you can email me, or if you're ready to get started, I have an option that you can click on my blog to join, or reach out to me and I can assist you if you have any questions. All right, so let me go ahead and get the cardstock out. I have to tell you, I love doing this, and it's a little bit of painting, yes, but it's pretty easy. So you just want to, my suggestion would be wear clothes that, you know, aren't brand new. Wear something that you're not going to get mad at yourself if you get a little bleach on it. So if you have certain laundry clothes that you do on your bleach day, that's the one that you want to wear. You know, that's the shirt you want to wear for this particular thing. I'm just going to cut 2 card bases with this while I'm at it. So I'm just going to take this and we're going to score it at 4 1/4. And there we go. And then I'm just going to cut it at 5 1/2. Just in case we make a mistake, we'll have a backup. But hopefully tonight I will be on my game. I was determined to be on my game tonight. Okay. So I'm going to be using like one of these, what do they call that? Where you can cut the heel. It's a healing mat. So, you know, when you cut into it and things like that, like it's really thick and durable. I would recommend something like that for your work surface. You probably already have something like that on there, but if you don't, if you have a piece of glass or, you know, something that you can use to protect your surface, I would recommend that if you're working with bleach. I'm going to be using a little bit of scrap paper too. You certainly don't have to, but I am going to do that, especially because we're going to do the traditional heat embossing first. Hi, Mary. How are you? So, and let me put a card over here so that you guys can see what this card looks like for anybody who's just popping on. We're doing the bleaching technique with in colors tonight. So here we have our card base. I'm going to do all of the traditional heat embossing steps first, and then we're going to get into the bleach. So that means you're going to want your Versamark ink. You're going to want your heat emboss powder. With Stampin' Up, you can choose between a trio of basics, which is black, white, and clear, or you can choose between a trio of metallics, which is gold, silver, and copper. And I did cover bases. I think I did white, black, silver, and gold with these 5 cards, which will give you a good, you know, a good kind of feel for what you're going for there. All right, so we're going to do the white heat emboss powder with the Starry Sky card base. I recommend the anti-static tool if you guys have one. I was just kind of trying to get the powder going because I felt like it was just kind of dry. And let me make sure. I feel like you guys can't see my whole card base, which drives me a little bit crazy. So let me see if I can angle this whole mat, because the problem is with my my phone mount here. Oh, and did you guys know that I shattered my phone? Oh my gosh, that's a whole story for another day. But it bumps right up against this. So let me just try to do this without curving my cardstock. Let me know, give me a shout out if you guys can't see, and I'll adjust myself here. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take the Versamark. On this card, I used the largest flower, which is good because it's kind of the quickest one to work with. So I already have it on a card base here. We got our anti-static powder down, and that's just so that when we do put the powder all over the heat emboss powder, that will only attach to the ink and not to any oils in our fingers or anything like that. Okay, so I'm just going to ink this up, and we're just going to do this all over the card. So, and you know, you can create a more specific pattern if you want. This is photopolymer, so I do recommend a foam, foam pad for stamping if you can help it. I'm just going to kind of press harder than I normally do because I don't have my foam mat down. So you're just going to want to go all over. All right, we're going to do the white powder. I think this would be stunning in silver too. Okay. Let me know in the comments, have you guys started working with your in colors yet? Have you gotten the new in colors yet? Okay, so I'm just going to get my heat tool and I'm going to set it. And we're actually going to use the heat tool for the bleaching technique too, so keep it nearby for whenever you're doing your technique. So it's going to get loud here for a minute. If you guys are new to the heat technique, what we do is it's kind of like a hair dryer but more concentrated. You can't use a hair dryer, by the way. Don't try to use a hair dryer when you're heat embossing. Get an actual heat tool. But what we're going to do is we're going to cook this powder. I think we're good. Okay. All right, that looks really good. So if you would want to wipe away the powder, you can do that. I'm just going to give this a second to cool down. As you can see, I didn't smear anything, but when it's hot, I would just give it a second to cool off. It does get pretty warm. So now let's talk about the bleach. Now you can use one of your old aqua painters, or you can use one of your water painters. I would not recommend putting it in here because you don't want that bleach to eat away at anything. I just wouldn't do that. Put it in a little container where you can, get rid of it later, pour it down a drain, whatever. But you can use the brush, to dip in. But once you make that your bleach brush, I would leave it your bleach brush and I wouldn't use it again for the watercoloring. I'm sure you could clean it, but you know what I mean? There's just no guarantees. So I would definitely label it. Now for me, I decided to keep my water painters because I only have 3 here right now. And I use them a lot. So I decided to just kind of borrow. And when I say borrow, I mean it's mine now. So I'm just going to replace. And I'll get Connor some more paintbrushes later. But I wanted to use a smaller paintbrush. And I am going to label this for bleach. And I'm going to keep this wrapped up in my craft room. So it'll stay in a drawer with me. So what I'm going to do here is, now that this has cooled off, I'm literally going to start painting. And here are my tips for this. So whenever you start doing this, I would, kind of tap it off. Like, I wouldn't do full bleach, like so that it's drippy and everything like that. I would do this very softly, where you're sort of wetting the cardstock, but it's like a really thin layer. And this has been sitting out for a while, so I hope it's how's that? Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm going to see if it comes back. I'm seeing Mary and Joan saying frozen. I want to see if it comes back. So I can always restart, but let me know in the comments if you can see me. Can you guys see me? Okay, good. Kathy says I'm back. Okay, great. I'm so sorry about that. So what I was saying was, we're just going to be really almost gingerly, and we're not going to have too much bleach. It's about less bleach, but just getting that color on there. So I don't know if you guys heard me saying any of that, but I just want a really light layer of bleach. And that is so that it kind of doesn't go through to the other side. I don't think it's the biggest deal in the world if it does, but this is a nice way to kind of keep really good control of where your bleach is going. So if you do want it to stay inside the lines, the less bleach on your brush, the better. But if you want to completely saturate your paper, you can do that. It's just gonna kind of go outside the lines and get around everywhere. And I'll show you guys on the cards when I'm done here, particularly with Parakeet Party. I was deliberately messy. Like, I deliberately went outside the lines just to kind of see what that looked like. And it just looks like its own little technique, like coloring technique. So we're just going to go around each of our flowers here. I'm trying to stay in the lines on this one. Trying to stay in the lines here. You can see it wetting the paper briefly. And when I say paper, I mean cardstock. You can see it wetting the cardstock, and then you can start to see that color pulling away. Isn't that cool? Okay, so I'm going to go up here now. I'm going to try to be mindful of my score line. I'm going to try to stay within that score line. I went a little bit over. Okay. And then we're just going to keep coloring that in. So definitely less wet. Okay, so just kind of like watercoloring with your water painters, the more soppy it is, the more wet it is, the messier it is, and the less color there is. It's similar with the bleach. The less bleach you use, the more control you have. The more bleach you use, the messier it can get. And remember, you don't want to get this on your hands. You don't want to get it on your surface. So I would just be careful with that. If you have a window in your craft room, I would just crack the window open. Make sure it's ventilated. Okay. All right, and then I'm just going to kind of go to the edge here. Now, if you get too much bleach on one of your flowers, you can heat set it with the heat tool. And if you want to speed up the process of bleaching the paper, you can also set it with your heat tool. So not unlike the hair, it's getting the hair to kind of pull color faster. Okay, So here we go. We're going to start working down here, and I'll check comments here in just a minute. Let me know what you guys are thinking of this. With Starry Sky, you could do some fun stuff with this cardstock and the bleaching technique. You could actually do like well, I would be careful, you know, I would have it in like a Tupperware container or something, but you could do like a gentle splatter to create like a night sky. I think this would be fun to kind of do like I know silhouettes are typically dark, but like if you did a reverse silhouette type of thing, I think this would be a really cool technique to use at Halloween. What do you guys think about that? And, you know, just going to kind of mention it. I don't want anybody to cringe, but for those of you who do enjoy, let's just say Christmas in July, we're halfway through May, you guys. So demonstrators are actually going to be thinking holiday pretty soon here. If you are a holiday planner and you like to get your stuff early, that is another reason to consider the In Color Starter Kit, because if you get that starter kit in May and you get that extra free product in May, you are also going to get first look at the holiday catalog. And you're also going to get first opportunity to pre-order holiday products that are available from Stampin' Up. They do certain products that you can pre-order ahead of time. Now with the mini catalogs, typically it's everything, but I can't guarantee that. Of course, with, you know, everything that's happening in the world, it changes from year to year. But with the annual catalog, it's usually a certain number of products, and with the minis, it's like pretty much whatever you want to get. So that is another very cool perk. Okay, so you guys can see I'm just kind of working my way around. I actually did kind of do a second layer on this flower here because I was talking and jabberjawing. Okay, so now I'm going to move my hand over to this one, and you can see this is actually drying pretty quickly, but I am going to set it with the heat tool, so maybe I'll get this one a little bit more wet just for the sake of the demonstration so that you guys can see how the heat tool will set and speed up the process of coloring the flower. And it's kind of fun to leave some of the edges the original color too. Can't guarantee with the bleach that it's going to bleach everything evenly either, but I think that's part of the technique. Okay, so just pay attention to this flower down here. Can you see that? You see the way that's drying and speeding up that process? And the longer you leave your heat tool on it, the lighter it gets. Okay, so let me just flip this over to the other side and let's see how I did. You see, so I have a little extra powder, but it didn't come through. Is that just not the coolest thing? I mean, oh my gosh, I love this. Okay, so here it is. Here's our card. And that's how you do that. Okay, so you could go over this again. You know, you could make it more intense, but I just think I think that is so cool. So I would let this sit for a little bit, right? Just let it get the bleach smell out. Once you've heat set it, you don't have to worry about it being, you know, wet and bleachy. But I let all of my cards sit for about an hour before the live. And that way everything smelled and looked normal to me, at least. Okay, so we can go ahead and finish this card. I'm going to go ahead and set my bleach aside, and then we'll just go ahead and decorate the card. Okay. So here, just while we're letting that sit for a minute, you can see we're very cleanly inside the lines on this card, but we're all over the place and outside the lines on this one. And then I even didn't complete, like I didn't get a full image here, and I still went outside the line with the bleach and I thought it looked fine. And then here, again, I was a little bit on the messier side. I wasn't as careful there. In this one, I was pretty careful. This one, I stayed pretty close within the lines. Okay. All right, so the way that I decorated this one was I took a piece of vellum with the lattice stamp. I think it's supposed to be a lattice. I'm not a gardener, but it reminded me of like a garden. Let me show you the die that I'm referring to here. So it is this fancy die right here. So you have all of your dies that are going to cut out the flower images and the leaf images. If you want to stamp those and just die cut those out, you could do that. And then we have these little end pieces. This is what I was interested in. I didn't actually do it on this card, but I can show you what these look like if you haven't seen these yet. But this is what that die looks like. And this is one of those dies that cut into paper and not necessarily cut out. So here is a piece of it die cut with the vellum, because I thought this looked like vellum. And then here it is in basic white. Like here's the full thing, like and you can trim around it, right? You can trim it like more into shape if you would want to and kind of do a layer. But I just thought it was so pretty. I didn't really want to cover it up. So I ended up just doing like a section of this, but this is, you know, that's what it looks like when you cut it in. So I'm going to set this one aside. The other thing that I did on some of these cards that you guys aren't going to get a chance to see me do live because of the card that we're doing, but you see the gold embossed piece here, and then we have a silver embossed piece here. Those are our foil sheets with the Love and Happiness embossing folder. And I had it with my embossing machine. Here it is. So it's this piece here. It's this 6x6 here, but it's not the full image. It's just part of it. So let me just show you what I did here. I just took a strip. I think it was like 1 inch by 2.5 or 3 inches. And I just embossed like the floral section here. And that was how I got these strips. And I'll give you guys measurements on the blog when I get the blog posted, but just so that you know where those pops came from, I wanted to kind of have like a coordinating tie-in to the heat emboss. And then here you can see that piece that we've got going here to kind of create that notepad look, if that's the card that you're doing there. And since this one looked like Very Vanilla to me, I actually used Very Vanilla. I just tore the edge off of this and did this topper. So you have like your two options there. The one thing that I did learn with that die, so the line that goes across the top, you want to make sure that that's at the top of the piece you're cutting and not the opposite, because I cut like one piece where they were both in the same piece of paper and I wanted 2 separate pieces of paper, and you could just cut it in half. But that's just a little tip from me. I kind of learned the hard way on that one. So those are the dies there, and I can cut those if you guys want to see them, just let me know. But for this piece, we're going to keep it really simple, and I'm going to use a piece of scrap that I have, and I'm going to use the vellum that I already have done here. Okay, so I'm going to use the Starry Sky ink on this one. Love, love, love the brand new ink pads. I have a little piece of paper on that one. So this is a 1/2 inch strip of the basic white. And then once I stamp my sentiment, I'm just going to trim it. So we'll go with Happy Birthday was the one that I used, but I think Congratulations would also be gorgeous on this one. So I'm just going to grab Happy Birthday. Okay. And then, oh, here we go. Get my block. Let me just stamp that down. Okay, and then I'm just going to trim this. We are going to use our in color dots, our matte in color dots. So let me get that going here. All right, so it looks like I'm going to do about 3.5. I think that's a good amount of space there. And then let me just trim this down. So just enough so that we can see the pattern. Doesn't have to be too crazy, right? So maybe 2 inches. I think that's good. And then this piece in the other direction is, looks like 2 5/8 when I'm on the cut line there. But this could actually be a little bit less. You know, you could trim down either side if you want to. I'm just going to leave it. And we'll go ahead and we'll get these added. All right, so for the vellum piece, I'm actually just going to grab my, I like using a stronger adhesive with vellum. We have some holes in here, so it's gonna stick. It's okay. I'm gonna kind of do this right off to the side. It's okay that we can see this through because we're actually gonna put this piece right over it. All right, and then I probably should have, it's gonna go right to the edge of the card. I think that's okay. All right, so, and you could always trim those in, or if you would want to do the banner punch on the edges there to kind of get that finished edge, you could do that too. I think any of the colors will work because we have all of this variation in color here. And then I'm going to do a big dot and 2 littles.